Welcome to the Mechanical Ink podcast, a collection of conversations about the open source ecosystem. We speak with maintainers and companies that play a key role in ensuring the health and sustainability of open source today and in the future. Hey, Precious, and welcome to the Mycelium Network podcast.
Hello, Shock. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a huge pleasure. I'm glad we finally made it happen. It took quite a while and a couple of tries, but here we are.
Yes, definitely. It was a long-awaited one, but finally I'm thankful for this. Thank you so much.
No, it's a huge pleasure. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So with that said, I learned about you on Polywork when I reached out quite a while ago about the initial gauging interest for this podcast. And but I don't know a ton about you. So can you tell me, and by telling our guests more about yourself, your career, and what makes you get up in the morning?
Great. Well, first of all, my name is Precious Adeyinka, and I'm from Nigeria. So I have always had this keen nature for tech in anything engineering right from birth. And I would always be the kid to always be found wanting to uncouple things and try to couple them back, see what goes on the inside and see how it all works. So this inquisitive nature makes me always want to not intentionally destroy things. But I always tend to take things apart and tend to put them back because I'm always inquisitive. It's like getting into a situation where you want to know about a lot of things happening around you, but you still can't just find the answers because no one is telling you things. You're expected to just know things, or you've been told, oh, you're just a kid, you can't understand that, and all that kind of stuff. So this was one of the first things I noticed about myself. And it wasn't a surprise that eventually I got into tech. But growing up, I actually had one very, very interesting desire. I wanted to be a veterinary doctor. I always had this love for animals. I had several animals that I had a love for, and I was really good with documentary. Till date, I'd sit and watch documentaries for hours and hours. It seemed like the only TV show I actually watched. So aside cartoons, and so I began to grow that and nurture that inquisitive nature, that ability to learn, trying to be serious in my own way and studious, because I had a very strict dad anyways, and so I had no other options. So getting to my high school, when I was about to leave in high school, I decided that I had a phone. I had a mobile phone, not a smartphone though, but I had a mobile phone. And I decided I wanted to explore more. I realized, Google was a thing. So I started researching personally, and I started finding things about myself. And the truth is, it's been a very emotional and very inspiring past though. But I started learning about what is programming. That was when I started getting into tech. I started liking things about tech and all that. So at this point, it was almost as if I forgot about the veterinary doctor, but I still loved animals. But this was a more interesting thing for me. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to learn and see what I can, do with these things. So I started learning, and I began to understand things better. Then I knew about programming. Then I started learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And at a point, I'd write, snippets of code on paper, just pen and paper. I didn't have a keyboard. I didn't have a laptop, nothing, just a piece of paper. And I'd just write codes and imagine that, this is actually compiling. And, some people would see me, my friends and family, they think I'm maybe mental or I needed help, and they didn't understand what I was doing. So I'd sit there, wake up every day like I was doing something serious, and I'd just be there writing and compiling codes. Any opportunity I had closer to maybe a relative visiting with a laptop, I'd be excited to try what I had learned on the internet, And this was the way I started learning and learning. I had books on books on books on books. I had almost a library of those kind of books. I wrote HTML and CSS in. I literally just packed out my old things last week, and I saw them, and I was almost emotional for a time. But it was really the times where I'd sit and night upon night I'd be doing all that. So long story. I got someone that saw me and he awarded me a phone for my birthday. I think it was a BlackBerry Z30 then. And then I started doing things. It was like he gave me the whole world in my hands. And then I had the opportunity to really, really use those things I was learning. I had access to a better browser, a better feature, and better user experience. So I did all that, and when I started showing the ability, the eagerness to do those things, to really go for it and learn and be studious and intentional about it, somebody saw me created. I think I created my first calculator app on the Z30, and then he saw it. It was like, "Is this a real calculator?" I was like, "No, I just did it." And it was like, "Oh my god, I needed to get your PC. I needed to do something." And that was back in 2016. And when that all happened, I got a PC, and this PC was a used one. He literally gave me ease. He didn't have any PC at the point. He didn't have any, plans to go get a PC as at the time. But the moment he was actually saying it, he handed it over. It was like, no, 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 I need you to actually do more with this. Like, I'm really inspired by this. That was what he said to me. And I was like really happy. It was around 10 p.m. in the night on that certain day. So I did all that. He would encourage me and everything. After a while, he got his own new laptop. And then that was when I discovered about the Google Scholarship for Africans in 2018. And then I got listed, not knowing so much, just basically the things I'd learned using paper and pen and learning how to type with a dead keyboard without even a cord attached to it. And I got into it, and I did really well. I literally was sleeping in his office. I left home for that. It was almost 2 months away from home. I was dedicated to it. In 2018, I would do every single thing I can to make sure I passed the challenges that was given and everything. So, this scholarship was held on Udacity, and I did all that. And funny enough, I was really done with it. I had it, and there I was, a mobile web specialist, a certified mobile web specialist, and signed by Google Udacity. That was a big thing for me. It was really huge. After that, my journey into tech began. Really, really. That was when that is the best I can backtrack and say this was when it all started. That was when I had my first experience. It was a 6 month intensive training to become a mobile web specialist, and had more experience with things like JavaScript. I saw first-hand back-end technologies, how it was used. I saw real life how these things could be, and then it'd be like, oh, is this how it's done? Is this how they do this thing? Is this how everything? And also the things I learned by myself during the process. So fast track, I made a bit of personal projects, and then I did a bunch of work with the startup, which was similarly demand, that gave me the PC. He had a company, a small company called Tech Purchase Services, and then I got into that company and I started working. I was a solo developer then. It wasn't a very big company, and I'd be the one interfacing with clients and doing all the nitty-gritty works and all that. And at some point, I started learning about WordPress, and realized, oh, WordPress was really a good tool to use and make this work I'm doing faster. So I started using CMS, WordPress, and all that. I did all of that, and this actually gave me a lot of confidence and improved the value I can actually offer. I am a person that always love to learn. I wake up every day thinking this is a new day to learn. This is a new day to acquire skill. I believe it can be done for me. Coming from a third world country where you're not from a rich family, you don't have anybody telling you how things are done. You see things firsthand happening around you. You see how youths around are, I wouldn't say wasting away, but not doing something really important. And at the end of the day, I want it to be different. So I thought of beating all the circumstances, beating all the odds, and trying to go for something I believed in. And this is always something that always gets me up, that, okay, I want to be XYZ, and I really want that to be done. I can't say I'm definitely where I am today, but I can say the decisions I took early in the time have taken me 10 years ahead of my peers. Right, yeah. So when I joined the company, I took on more roles that really tested the skills that I had learned from the program I did with Udacity and the scholarship. So I set out to do things with the scholarship, and then together we started coming up with different plans to build an ecosystem of people who can learn, and a lot of people who aren't really opportune to get access to things like this and opportunities like that. So we started this program called Code Camp, and then Code Camp started back in 2019. So we started doing it all the way to now. And funny enough, I'm actually going for another session that will be next week for a 7 days intensive period where we teach them front end programming. And this is going to be inclusive of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I've been the one mainly leading and facilitating this program since the time till now, and it has been really marvelous. We've met a lot of people along the way. It has actually opened so many opportunities for me and given me also the leverage to also impact knowledge and also encourage people to be better and try to do something even despite the challenges that they might be facing from a third world country. So these are the things that now make me really interested and motivated to stand up every day, because the next time I wake up, I see a message on my phone or someone calling me, oh, I have a problem, I'm stuck here, I'm trying to get into tech, my child is trying to get into tech, can you teach a couple of people, can you do this and that? All of this and more gives me the motivation, and basically I try to, give my time to these things. I try to give my time and my passion and my interest into these things so much that it makes me a better person eventually. And the most important part of it is the impartation. Usually when I'm teaching in class or in any of those code camps or boot camps that I facilitate, the point where I take them from knowing absolutely nothing to the point where I take them to knowing extremely something is it's really satisfying for me. The joy of trying to help someone become better and trying to gain knowledge through intentional assistance is really great for me. So this has been my journey. I've been mostly in and out of different companies. I've also freelanced most of the journey as well. But I started diverting into a lot of other things like business, design, teaching, networking, and social media and so many other things. I wasn't trying to specifically go all through tech, become a nerd. I wanted to explore other areas of tech. So I got into tech, and fortunately for me, programming was the first thing I got exposed to, but I needed to explore other areas. And the same eagerness was what I actually used. And back in 2020, I got graduated from a cloud scholarship program that was also sponsored by Bertelsmann. And it was also the same thing on Udacity. And by that time, I already had a lot of knowledge. I'd already practiced so many programming languages. I had already done several freelancing jobs, worked as either a solo person or a team in a startup. And I've actually used all those skills to improve myself, the value I can give to myself and to others, and also to promote other things that I'm able to do. This will give me the edge and the confidence to pursue other things that I really want to do. Because eventually what I see myself is not programming till my 40s or my 30s. I really want to start programming at maybe age 30 and eventually just work on business, partnership, innovation, and so many other things. And with the pace I'm going and with all the efforts I'm putting in, I think it's pretty much possible, yes. So that is that for the first question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. That's a wonderful story. I really love that. So I know one of the other things that potentially gets you up in the morning is on your GitHub profile, you mentioned that you can dance. So what forms of dance do you enjoy? And what is it about dancing that you enjoy? To me, I'm one of those with 2 left feet kind of people. So I'm fascinated by those who can do this.
Okay, wow. I actually didn't expect that question though. Why is a very funny one? But one thing is dance gives me the expression of lifestyle. For example, in my tradition, we are very energetic people in Nigeria, especially the youths, right? Dance is a way of promoting culture. There's a way I dance and there's a way another person from a different culture dances, right? That is how you're able to recognize or identify the person that belongs to your group of culture, tradition, or ethnicity. So dancing for me gives me a way to express myself and to also exercise. Well, very importantly, dancing is an avenue for me to exercise. So sometimes I want to exercise and I don't necessarily want to go on a routine, go to the gym or anything. I just dance. That's just, and, this passion grew so much. One time I actually started a dance crew, but school came into the way. When I mean school, I mean university now, and I started having lesser time for dance. So I handed over to someone which was already in my dance crew, which I already was part of the people I usually choreograph for and teach them. So he started handling it, and I had to just move transition. But I used to have a small dance crew where we choreograph dances and just have fun. It was like a really energetic crew we had then with different events. We go for different events. We dance around our local environment and community. But yeah, this is just basically dancing for me is exercise, fun, and tradition. So that's it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. On Polywork, I think you had this sentence in the description, if you look at your profile, where you say, I am delighted to join your engineering team and combine forces to make the world a better place, one line of code at a time. I love that sentiment. And I'd like to know, I think you've touched on this a little bit, and I think education is one of the things that you've mentioned that plays into this. But I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you see developers improving the world through code.
Oh, yeah. That line, like you said, was a really interesting one, though. But it came up as a result of me having this, like I said, I've always been doing freelancing. So, to be very honest with you, I've never really had when I got into tech newly, I never really had this idea of working for a company. I knew people did work for companies, but I never had that idea. So from the onset, I saw myself as a creator, saw myself as an independent contractor, somebody that was equipped with an ability, with a knowledge. So it's left for me to actually create a way and not necessarily working under someone to do something, which, trust me, I'm not despising the fact it's amazing. Some products are great, being a part of a team and everything, but I've always wanted to create and explore my own reality. Mm-hmm. So I think as developers, we are equipped with ability, knowledge, and this knowledge can greatly help the world in several ways. Take, for instance, the exploration of technology in Africa is still at the surface. It's still not going below to the core and touching the deep of everything. And the truth is, Africa has a lot of talent. Africa has a lot of opportunities. And it is right now that is the best time to start sowing those seeds of technology in every aspect. We can solve a lot of problems with technology. I tell you, so many things that are happening, especially in my country, have been greatly improved. I can't even imagine where we would be if we hadn't adopted some technologies. So technology is a way to fast track into the future, to get, joined into the race and belong to a global race of future thinking people or future minded people. So, sometimes when I see developers with a lot of skills and they are necessarily not creating or not, getting involved in, how will I put it? Collaborative work to get something out there. It's actually saddens me because I feel like it's being put in a position with so much power and still you can't, facilitate the mindset to create something with it. That is how it is for me. So I believe programmers are equipped with skills and ideas to be able to create something. Oftentimes I reach out to people. I'm like, oh, can we work in something like this? I mean, I totally understand everybody's point of view, but the truth is, if you don't take that bold step, no one is going to actually follow or want to be the first person to start it. Mm-hmm. So programmers are very negligent of the fact that they have the skill to create you have the ability to create, and we don't necessarily exploit the deepest part as we should. So I always see myself as someone that can, contribute a lot with my mindset. I do work on my mindset a lot in the way I think, the things I consume, and how I, relate with people. So I feel I'm in a position where I can contribute a lot to a company. So if I join your engineering team, I believe with the right mindset, with the right tools, with the right support, and with the right team, it is possible to definitely create a solution that will disrupt the status quo of, problems that we have currently facing the world and in other parts of the world, Africa or any other places around the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of things that we need to address, that is for sure. So there is another website that you've mentioned on Polywork that I'm very interested in. I can make some assumptions based on the name what the problem is this site is trying to address and trying to solve, but I don't want to just make my assumptions. I'd like you to tell me, like, I'm referring you to Black Freelancer, the website, and you've also been featured there, by the way, which congratulations. What is the platform all about, and like, what is the problem it's trying to address?
Oh yeah, so the first time I heard about Black Freelancer was an ad I saw on Instagram, and I wasn't really surprised why I was targeted. So I immediately loved it. I saw the page and I went on there. So I reached out to the founder, and he gave me a shout out on one of my posts, and decided to DM me. So we got talking. Asked me to check out the website, and I did. So immediately I, posted one of their tags, and gave them a shout out to that. Hey, Black freelancers, all that. So I got into the Discord channel. We started, talking. I realized they were doing a whole lot of things, and they were working on their website as at the time. So what Black Freelancer basically is, it's a website. It's a freelance website for Black freelancers, for people of color. So what they do is they make the process of matching employers with freelancers. So, but the only thing is, just like I said, and you've experienced it firsthand, there are very minimal opportunity in Africa, and there's just so much to explore and know about, and some of the basic things are not even accounted for. For example, my internet is really, really disturbing right now, and it's very erratic. So these are some of the opportunities that are not really available, but most people might not know about it. So, but because this is the fact, this man is a Black, and I think he actually studied in the in the United States, I think, but he studied abroad, and he decided to come back and help people in his country to become better. So he started Black freelancers, and they started. I think he has more connections with employers. He's working that part out, how to match up directly. So it's more like they're giving you the help you require to get employed. So if you're getting started into tech, if you're already a professional but you don't have access to employment, if you've been laid off from your job because of something or whatever the reason might be, as long as you're a Black freelancer, as long as you're a person of color, as long as you're within Africa, you can get involved in Black freelancers, and this might just be your opportunity to get the employment, to get that dream job you're looking for and everything. So they have this weekly event they always do, and like Black Freelancers Friday and all that. So I, as personally, like I said earlier about the passion I have, it's really intrinsic. It's not based on some external motivating factor, because the moment he reached out, he saw the way my vibe was really good for it. I'm always energetic about things about tech, about reaching out, about community and all that. So one of the reasons why he really loved me so much, and he decided, oh, why not they get why don't I join them and see what they have to do and all that. So he said, I spoke with one of the community moderators, and he wanted to hear about what I do how I got to know them and what I hope to achieve together and everything. So I gave them some really good talk, and they were really interested in it. And so I started exploring and getting involved in the community, replying, helping people, just like I usually do, and everything like that. So long story short, you just messaged me one day, oh, you got featured in our website, or what do you think about it? Go and check it out. Let's see what's up and everything. I'm like, oh wow, this is really great. Thank you so much. So I posted it on my LinkedIn and everywhere and all that, just to as well create that awareness for people to know that there's such a thing like this, just in case. Some people are still in their own corner of the world trying to figure things out by themselves. So there's help for you. There's a community where you can join. There are people in this community that are hiring for freelance contract-based work and all that. It's also a network of people that have skills that you can collaborate, pair program, meet people. So it's a very comprehensive community, but for Black people, and it's really a good thing they're doing. And I really do believe that it will grow into something big in the nearest future with the way they're pushing and everything they're doing. So one thing that really helped me a lot was immediately I got to know about it, I set up my profile, put in a lot of stuff, and those were some of the reasons why I think, and also my personal communication with some of the key people in the Discord server and the community. I think that was one of the reasons why I was probably selected for the feature on the website here.
That's great. I'm glad there's resources like that. It's definitely very needed, and it's nice to have a community of people you can that's similar to you, have similar experiences, have similar struggles. It's always nice. It makes you feel less alone. It makes you feel like there's hope for you also out there. So talking about freelancing and opportunities created by websites like these, according to your LinkedIn profile, you are currently open to work. So if you look at the workforce, the workplace out there, what do you look for when you look for a company? So if somebody would reach out to you, what would be the kind of companies that you'd be interested in working with?
Okay. For me, I always tend to say this a lot. I prefer to work with a startup. And the reason being because at a startup level, there is so much energy, there's so much passion, there is something to immediately look out for. We want to get to our big goals, even though there are other parts to it, like they quickly get into all of these things, and without well tested plan and everything, which some startups have actually failed to plan. And I think I actually wrote an article about that, and 5 things your business is failing to do, or 5 reasons why your startup might be failing, something like that. So I would like to work with a startup because there's something to look out for. We are starting at ground zero. We want to build this thing up from scratch. Like I said from before, I always love to decouple things, see the core of it, the basic thing that makes it what it is, and how to make it that way. So it's basically just a series of components and layers on top of layers that make it that way. So I'm always that build from ground up kind of guy, and I like to work with a startup because of this. It's easier to keep track of records of things that we are doing. It's easy to measure growth. It's easy to measure impact. It's easier to measure influence. You can be assigned a role. You can take responsibility. You can be given autonomy to do what you need to do. Those are some of the qualities that actually make me like startups. And these are some of the qualities that are very common with startups because they don't have a lot of human power. So they require maybe just a few developers to get an MVP up. I'm good for that. I can get into it. We can build something from the scratch up. This gives you the first-hand experience of building products. It also helps you spark up that internal entrepreneur in you and make you want to build. And this aligns well with what I wanted to do. Like I want to build things. I want to be an innovator. I want to create things from scratch and, deliver products and solutions to people out there in the world. So I'd love to work with a startup that, is human-centric, because at the end of the day, whatever we do have to revolve around humanity and it has to be solving a problem. So to look for, I'd usually go to their website, see what they have to offer. I could speak with a few representatives and see what qualities are they offering. Another thing is I would look into their remuneration plan. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, finance is involved in a lot of things that we do. We can't take it out of our daily life. So I need to know if I'm giving in my effort. If I'm giving in my effort into something, if I'm giving 100%, and this thing is actually returning back to me almost in tenfolds or in the same quantity of impact that I'm giving it, that is good enough for me. Otherwise, I think I would have to give it maybe a part-time of my attention and dedicate the other parts of my time to something else that can actually give me something to run away with it. And this means that I can volunteer for opportunities as well. I'm open for volunteer opportunities as well as I'm open for work. And I'm actually going through so many volunteering positions right now as well. So I think for me it's the core of the company. What are you all about? What are your core values? I've experienced mental health problems working for one startup one time like that, and I really didn't like it. It was not a good experience for me, and I realized firsthand about me. I do hear it a lot, but I still haven't had a personal experience, so I tend not to believe it. I tend to just work. So when I had a first-hand experience, I realized what it was all about and why mental health is really important. So right now, let's include that. If it's something that I cannot commit my time and effort to, right now, I better not take it because I can't be in a job where I'm not happy, no matter how much you're going to pay me. If I'm not happy at my job, then I think it sucks for me to actually work at that job. And I wouldn't really be proud of myself or my achievement at the end of the day. So, yeah, these are some of the things that I would definitely consider on the outside for working with a company. Aside, I'm not really keen on a particular technology. I like to explore. If you have a new technology, if you accept me to learn it on the job, why not? I want to learn it all the way. So, but if you already have something I'm used to using, then that's good. It helps me kick off from the ground easily and just get started and move faster with you guys. And also, if you give me the autonomy to do things, to explore, to hear my suggestions, those things are also very vital in a company because it means you can hear. You can get feedback from the people that are working with you. What matters to you, what matters to them should, be as a result of improving the eventual product, the flagship product of the company and everything. So, yeah, these are some of the things that I really enjoy to work with in the company, aside belonging to a group of amazing individuals to work with, joining together to make our collaborative geniuses to build a amazing product that people would love.
So there's quite a couple of things you mentioned there that I'd like to dig in a little bit. I think, let me think where to start. So one of the things that can be tricky as you explore companies and you try and get a job is the recruitment process. I think most people, if you ask them what is their least favorite part of getting a job, it's the recruitment process. And there's been different takes on it, but I think it's still definitely not a solved problem yet. I'm interested in your experience, either as a freelancer or, getting permanent employment or anything like that. Are there any great experiences you've had in this area of tech? And if so, what made them great? And if not, and you had like a bad experience, what made that experience bad and how do you think it can be improved?
Right. Okay. So I think the first one is I'm gonna take up on the good experiences part before I come to the bad experiences. Okay. So well, I've had a lot of good experiences with interviews, and from all the good experiences I've had, to be very honest, I like to just throw it out there. It's 60% or more based on the interviewer. To be very honest, because the truth is, if I am not going to eventually get awarded a job, then it shouldn't determine how I get treated from the onset. If you treat me badly, getting into that job, I'd already have red flags, or I'm having red flags about the jobs already. If your interviewer already can behave in a certain way like this, it can be really it can be a turn off for me. So I've one time had to work with this company in Philippines, and I met her on Facebook. No, I met her on LinkedIn, right? And she interviewed me, and that was the best interview I've ever had till now. And she has been barely a year into the interview space and working with the company. How did I know that? That was because we literally deviate from the interview and got into talking about some things like that. Like, oh, she literally asked me to guess how long I thought she has been working in the interview. So I felt more homely. I felt welcome. I felt not tension, not oppressed or anything. I felt no strict rules and hard and fast rules. This is what has to be done. This is what we're looking for. You have to be perfect and everything. She gave me that sense of interviews can be really enjoyable, can be fun, can be interesting. You can converse with someone. You can even make friends with your interviewer. You know, and that vibe really turned the whole thing. And even I did not get a job eventually, but we became friends. And we kept contact on LinkedIn and Facebook, so those were the good experiences I've had one time. And that basically was because of demeanor, like the person she was, the way she smiles, the way she talks. Even if you give a reply, she wants to dig more into it. She wants to understand why you said XYZ. She's giving you clues and all that. And those are little qualities that help any interviewer make the work easier for themselves and the person they're interviewing. So it's not all just hard and really formal, and like somebody really has to be perfect from the onset. The interview is not a job. It is an interview. It's not a job. So it's a casual conversation, and that is what it should be like. But often time it is not, I tell you. So that was one. And one time I also had this interview with a lady, and it was in a company, but they required something else. And because I didn't have that particular thing, she decided to keep my interview and asked me to keep contact with her, and that she would love to be in touch. And as soon as I get that part of the interview filled out, she would like me to reach out back to her and everything. And I was like, oh, that's good. So so far so good. I was saying all the good. In my opinion, the best interviews I've had are majorly based on the recruiter, and not because necessarily I prepared extremely well. Because I mean, if I were going to talk to my friend, right, I wouldn't have to prepare extremely well to go and talk to my friend. I mean, it's my friend, right? So that is how an interview should be. I should talk to interview. It's a casual informational interview, so I shouldn't have to prepare extremely well to talk about myself to you, or for you to ask me questions that I can reply to, without having to create scripts. I'm not answering from a script. I'm telling you how it is and making those mistakes there and letting you see the humane side of me. So those are the things that actually make these things interesting. If it were a technical interview, it would be even easier to understand. And depending on the type of technical interview, I think it's still very well to bring in that friendly gesture into the whole process. So yeah, and for bad interviews, I think it's mainly because of the demeanor of the interviewer. So I think if the interview is good or bad, it's majorly the fault of the interviewer. The only point it can be the fault of the interviewee. That's the prospect now is when the prospect literally has no idea whatsoever what they're applying for. What you ask a question, and even if as an interviewer you really messed up at an interview, you know. But I think casual things like an informational interview, getting to know yourself, getting to understand how you behave, leadership behaviors, and all that kind of thing. I think it should be very easy for anybody that has been living for a while to be able to say things about themselves, talk about what they've done, and be able to tell the strengths and their weaknesses. So yeah. So for me, I think the biggest part that I've actually failed a lot is being in the technical interviews. And this is reason because sometimes the technical interviews are, for me, unnecessary. I'm applying for a job and I have to do some DSAs. And I mean, even if I did prepare for it and eventually I did it, like one time I did clear I think 3 rounds of a technical interview. But the funny thing was I didn't get a job eventually. So that for me was really sad. I put in all the effort, all the time to learn and do what I did, and I was really, really impressed with what I did. And they were also impressed with it. But I think the only thing that was a barrier there was the location, because I was not in the country where the job was being offered, so I wasn't able to get the job. So this to me was a really big disappointment, and it has always been the biggest issue. Location matters. You get it? So, and even if I did I require remote work, I'm hearing things like remote in the USA only, remote in the UK only. So I didn't understand they could be remote in a specific location. I thought remote was you could work from anywhere as long as you had a laptop and an internet connection. So these are some of the things that are still very that they are very big disappointment to me, because I still feel like, okay, we've left the era where we were strictly on site work. Now we've moved it to remote, but now there are still some restrictions, even despite it's remote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I gather that the human factor is very important in making the interviews good for both parties.
Yep.
But then I think you've highlighted some important topics there that I was planning to talk about a bit later, but I think we can talk about it now. So,
Okay.
as a person living and working in Africa, what do you find to be the biggest challenges to getting work? And I think you've mentioned some of them right now, but
Yep.
also then building a career, and then also in terms of entrepreneurship in the African context.
Okay. Well, for me personally, I think it's possible. Like I like to tell myself, and this is one of the biggest motivation I have for myself and any other person that I actually talk to, is if I believe I've actually achieved something, and if I can, I believe anyone can as well. Opportunities, access to opportunities are one of the biggest factors that actually restrict a lot of people. It's very funny how when I speak with people, when I see by first-hand experience what people still don't know about yet. It's very funny. One time I was talking to someone, and he literally didn't know about Facebook groups. I mean, of course he didn't know about Facebook, but he didn't know about Facebook group was a thing. And yet a lot of people don't know about these things. So people don't usually get the opportunity to know things or to get access to things. And those are some of the biggest challenges I personally experienced. You know, how I told you I started out writing programming on paper, and I didn't have access to a PC or a laptop. And not because I wasn't ready to learn, but because I did not have the access to the opportunity. And I backtrack sometimes, look back in the years and see and just think how much I would have actually grown if I had access to some things that I should have earlier in the time. And thankful for me, I'm grateful for the people I met along the way that really helped me, like the man who gave me the laptop to actually pursue my dream of becoming a programmer. And that really helped me a lot. I mean, if he hadn't done that, only God knows where I would be right now. So I mean, those opportunities are something you have to work your ass for, and sometimes they don't just come. So access to opportunity, access to a how will I put it, a profitable work. So I've had to work offline or way before I actually got to meet this person that really helped me. And some of the jobs that I worked, I'm not really proud of them because they were not the best. I mean, how could you work 31 days a month and get, let me put it to you, just afford me a second to put it to you in dollars so you can understand what I'm trying to say. Please 1 second. At the end of the day, you work, and let's say it's $10 or $13 you're getting at the end of the month. That's just how it is. Wow, yeah. So it's like getting $10, $13 at the end of the month. I mean, due to the current rate right now. So the work's not really anything. The money is nothing. It's something that even the transportation costs to where you're going, where you're commuting every day to work, has already afforded to taking all the funds you're making at the end of the month. So it's really nothing. This is a big discourage to a lot of people. So some people tend to look for alternative means to do things, and some of them are not the best. I'm sure some of them shouldn't be really proud of some of the things they do. And I mean, sometimes some of them have had to get into bad influences and all that. So this is just how it is. for most people and for some of the challenges. I think in tech is still something that is still way underdeveloped and still has a lot of opportunity to grow. And thankfully now some people are beginning to see the impact that tech can actually bring. I mean, you can see the likes of TikTok and what it has really done to some of the young people, especially in Nigeria here. I mean, since the inception of TikTok in Nigeria and the wide adoption, I really can't count how many of my personal friends that I have on that platform that have been able to make a living with what they know. Now, you see, the thing is, they were prepared. They had the skill, they had the talent. They were just waiting for the opportunity. And TikTok gave most of them the opportunity. And this has been the problem. Opportunity is one of the biggest problems. And that has been what most people are lacking still. I feel if you give somebody opportunity, there are two things they can do with it. They can go really, really, really crazy about it and make something amazing for it, or they can really make something amazing but in the opposite way. So, but as long as a person has opportunity, they are able to do something with it no matter what. It's either you don't do anything with it or it's either you do something with it. But what you do then depends on your personal goals. So I think for me on a personal level, these are some of the challenges that I've actually had and the things that are more economic based, like we really can gain access to services, websites, jobs. Some certain jobs we can get paid. I literally was freelancing for someone in India yesterday, and he couldn't pay me, and it just dawned on me that, oh my god, I can't actually get paid, And what I had to do was but the earlier this year I started a e-commerce business, a POD, print on demand, and I wanted to give some fund into advertisement. So I literally had to talk with an influencer and ask them to give me the PayPal address so I could eventually get the money sent to them instead of me. And that was not intentionally that was not what I intended to do, but that was what I had to do. I had to think of something else. I had to improvise something just so that I get, benefit for the work done. And it's crazy because we were going back and forth the whole day trying to look for the best platforms. All the platforms, they've been blocked. We can get we get every passing month, we get every new rule that just blocks off access to so many things. I can't count how many websites I actually I stumbled upon yesterday, and they look really promising. They look like something I could really do, but eventually, when I get set up on this website, I hear things like, "Oh, it's not available for your country. Your IP is blocked. You can access this. You can." It's really degrading. It's really frustrating, and this is just how it is. You sometimes just have to really be on a high level, and you need to surround yourself with a lot of people to really stay up there, stay focused, stay on the goal, and stay on the road of this is my dream and this is what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, this is basically it for me.
Yeah, well, those are big challenges, and I mean, I guess a VPN can help to some extent by masking your true IP address, but first of all, VPNs aren't cheap.
Yeah.
And second, the second thing is that while it'll mask your IP, if you can't accept money from this platform in your country, then masking your IP address doesn't really help anything.
Exactly.
No, I know it is a struggle. The fact that Stripe is not supported in any country in the entire African continent makes no sense to me.
Absolutely.
There's so many things and things you can experiment with to try and build some passive income or even a full-on business, but you can't, because all these services are built on top of Stripe, and we can't accept Stripe payments in the entire African continent. So you're completely excluded from that entire economy, and it makes no sense, because one of the companies owned by Stripe was actually founded in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken, and yet Stripe is not available in Africa. So I'm not sure how that works. Do you think that open source has a role to play here, where open source and open source incubators can create this opportunity?
Yes, I mean that is more in a technical end, but the good thing is we're beginning to have open source for a whole lot more other things. But still, the biggest player in the open source ecosystem is technology. And open source has been really good, during the Oktoberfest, which is the yearly, or I say annually, celebration of open source, and it's sponsored by Digital Ocean. And during that period, I decided to give it a try. So I reached out to a couple of people who are doing something with machine learning, and they needed help and everything. So they put out a product there for Oktoberfest tags and all that. I got in, I created the entire dashboard for the user component interface of the entire app, and I did it for them. I got recognized for it, and to me that was really something, because that was the first time ever I got recognized for anything for in open source. Right. And that really made me pause a bit and be like, oh, okay, there is actually an area here that can be really beneficial to a lot of people in Africa, to me especially. So I decided to explore open source and everything. But to be very honest, you see, open source on its own it's good, it's beneficial. I think the biggest contribution open source will make to people is give them opportunities to learn, to explore, to grow, to know. But in terms of financial in the ecosystem of Africa, open source still hasn't been able to solve that problem, because if it were, we'll still not be having a lot of problems with financial payments and so many other things like that. So I think open source is giving everybody a platform to learn. And the good thing is, with open source, you can learn. And it's subsidized a lot of things. For example, if you needed to access a course that would take you from ground zero to level 100 in a matter of, let's say, 30 days, and you have to pay for such a course on Udemy, Skillshare, or any other platform, with an open source based, let's say, competitor or alternate of that kind of application, you can get to gain access to these resources, gain access to knowledge, gain access to help, community, people. But that does not necessarily give you that. Open source can help in areas of brand promotion, brand growth, knowledge acquisition, like helping you to place a digital footprint in so many places, get known, get involved. But to a bigger extent, open source will still require you for you to gain the benefits from open source and everything. You still have to work with it, and eventually, if you want to convert that into financial value, you still are not able to access that. But that notwithstanding, open source has actually did solve a lot of problem. And I actually do have an open source community that I co-founded with a friend in India, and this we did as a result of the boredom during the COVID period. And then we started this open source community called the Unpretentious Web, and we started it to help a lot of people that were beginning to gain their first experience in tech, where to go, who to meet. It's very overwhelming. Yes, we know. So what are your first steps? What do you do? You need a community to belong. Like I said the other time, it's good to always have a community where you belong to, that makes the work feel like you're not alone. You can belong here. You can have to share ideas with like-minded people and everything. And that was what we tried to build. And we have a page on LinkedIn, the Unpretentious Web. And this actually gained my friend, Joshua, the job he's at currently. He's working with a company called Miracle. Have you heard?
Mm-hmm.
So that...
No, I have not.
So he's working as a developer evangelist, and he is one of their most important assets right now. And so many other jobs he has gotten in the period of the time we started it till now, where he's at his current job, which is really doing well at. And I look back and see we started the same thing together, but in the period of time from which we started all together, did almost exactly the same things. We applied to jobs at the same time and so many things. He has gotten more opportunity than I have, and that's because we're in especially entirely different continents, and the situations are different here and there. But if we were looking at it, he is no I'm not going to put it, let me put it, he's no exceptionally better than I am. In fact, he sees me as somebody to look up to in most cases, but the situations are different, and the factors that causes those change to get triggered are different in our regions, and those are just the things that are still a drawback for me. So yes.
Yeah. So do you think like initiatives like, for example, GitHub has got this new program called GitHub Accelerator where you can apply from anywhere in the world to the accelerator. And then if you are accepted into it, you form part of a 10-week course, essentially, but a cohort is what you call it.
Yep.
And then they take your open source idea. They actually give you money to work on that for the 10 weeks to get mentorship from people in open source has been doing it for a long time as a means of allowing you to develop this into something that can then be financially beneficial. Do you think programs like that is what we need to help open source really, bridge that gap that we have between people who really want to do the thing and the opportunity?
Yes, actually, that is a big yes. I think open source has that, capacity to do more, to scale in a bigger level. And I actually heard about the GitHub Accelerator. I actually joined on Twitter, a space on Twitter where someone spoke about it, and I really got interested in it. So I documented it and bookmarked it, but I haven't really gone into the exploration or even applied. But with the level at I am right now, and with the things I want to do, I'm talking future things now. I mean, 2 years, 3 years from now, I think the accelerator program will do me a lot of good, and I'm actually excited to explore it and see what it actually has in stock for me. Because I am someone that have ideas a lot. I have a lot of ideas, and I know you already have a question for me on that, and I'll expand more on this later, but I do always have ideas and things to work on. So I believe I'm able to, contribute to the global, scale solutions to problems that we have, especially in Africa and things that are dealing with Africa. I'm able to make myself useful to build value and to also give out value. So I think this would go a long way in giving a lot of people the opportunity they require. Had it been things like this were available 5 years back or 5 years ago, and I knew about it, it would have been a whole lot better for me right now. So I think definitely the next generation of people that are getting into tech early and getting access to things like this definitely will not have the same result that I had in my case, or that some other people has actually experienced in their own career.
Yeah, I do think it's never too late. I think we should never give up. We should never think that because we didn't have it 5 years ago, it's over. It's for the next generation. I think we should still have faith.
Yeah.
That things are changing. There are many efforts coming up. A lot of people are aware of these problems, right? And it looks like finally there are some companies, respectable companies, who are putting money towards the problem. Because I think even though some people will complain and say there's no need, money isn't the problem in open source. I think they're just talking from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
I think money is a problem.
Definitely.
We face it every day. But so I think we should be glad for those that come after, because the road is going to be a little bit easier for them. But I think we should, not give up and still try and see what we can do from our perspective.
Sure.
Talking about that,
Definitely.
So you are working on an MVP for a startup company. Tell us more about that.
I'm actually working on an MVP for my own startup company. In the past few months now, I've been trying to, attain a particular job. And while I've actually worked in some jobs, but not for too long, very short duration, some maybe a year, some months, some just very short contracts and all that, I realized that the biggest thing, or the biggest gift I can give to myself, is to have a product with my face on it, something that I can actually build and automate. And since I'm a very big fan of when I said earlier that we as developers, we given something, we have access, we have the privilege to know something that we can use. Technology is a thing now. We can use technology to create. We've been given the tools. I believe it will be really beneficial if I can actually pull that into work and kick the dust off the entrepreneurial side of me and try to build products and innovate. So I set out to, brainstorm a couple of ideas, and of which I have actively three that I'm working on. And the first one is African based, and it's more or less like a marketplace, a freelance marketplace, where African is more similar to what Black freelancers are doing in idea, but is not entirely in terms of what it will do, the features it will have, the functionality, and the beneficial, the profits to a lot of people. So that is one aspect of it. Then I also have another, which is dealing with another industry, and this can be global. It's not just African based, but it's just that because I'm from Africa and I've seen firsthand some of the things that happen in Africa, I'm inspired by those programs to create and to innovate rather than to, just like you said now, accept that it has been and it's come to stay. No, there can actually be something done about it. And I'm not a kind of person that always, want to give up on things. I believe if I put in effort on something, I should and I will get the result. And when I set my mind on that thing, I definitely will. So I set out to start building out MVPs. And I reached out to a couple of people. Unfortunately, they were not interested in a work that would not pay them. And I totally do understand because of the nature of the country and everything that is going on. Even one time I reached out to a guy on Polywork. He loved the idea I explained to him and everything. I had already done some work, so I don't want to be appearing to you as a lazy person, someone who's just doing the talk and can't work the work. I had already done a lot of work. So when it came in, it was really marveled that, oh, am I actually a UI/UX designer? I'm like, I don't put it up there as a UI/UX designer, but if I really want to get into something, I can get myself to do it really well. And it was really amazing. And we got talking, it was inspired and everything. But right now, it's nowhere to be found. And it doesn't have, I think one of the biggest challenges I face is not meeting people that match up with the same level of energy that I do have. I can be very energetic and, very eager about something where I want to do it. Let's get it done. Let's move. Let's go and, finish this or get pumped every day and everything like that. So, I have all of those that I'm working on currently. Another is an app which I'm working on currently as well. So I'm trying to actively spread myself across all of this because I know it's very possible. They are not impossible, but definitely they will take a toll on me, and that is good because it is the time for me to do the work. And what I actually am planning to do with this startup is to set up a platform that can eventually benefit me in terms of impact that I'm making in the world and also financial value. I don't like to leave that aspect out because if I can set up something that can constantly give me a stream of income, I'm able to focus my time on other things. I was actually watching a video recently about a guy. He's 37 years old and he got into tech in his 20s. He built a lot of companies and he sold some to Shopify and he did a lot of companies with his friends and everything. And they were really successful. He had a lot of startups. And right now is more or less an angel investor. And what he said was really remarkable that everybody has this hustle mentality around where he was, but his demeanor was different. And he said that what really helped him was the fast movement and the opportunity he had. He got into it quick. He built something that can replicate over and over again, something that can be responsible for taking care of things. He said now he wakes up every day knowing that there's just so many things to do. He can now properly manage his time better and, assign it to other things. I wish that as well because I know, like I said, I don't want to just be a technical person doing technical things. I know there are other areas of life that can be better. And I know sometimes I try to fast track back and see some of the geniuses that we've had, like the likes of Albert Einstein and everything. Even Albert Einstein at one point really had a really keen interest and he had some impact in music and everything. And so I don't want to just be a one size, one person, just one thing. I want to do every other thing that I am meant to do. I want to explore the youthfulness of my time and do a lot more with it before I don't have that opportunity anymore. So this is how the whole startup thing is going right now. And I've really made some progress, and trust me, I have really made some progress. And I do have a deadline to release one of the at least an MVP or a better version of one of the startups I was actually working on by the end of January or latest February. And after the success of that, that will determine the pace I will in taking out and releasing the other products. And, funny enough, since I decided to do that, I've been receiving a lot of, feeds, content, information about people who are doing the same thing. And I find out that it's not as hard as I really think it is. I don't have to overcomplicate these things. They're very simple things. Just get them out there. I mean, I literally see startups that are coming out every day that are just, focusing on little aspects of, problems and fixing them. And it's marvelous. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And I feel like, okay, I could do the same. And why not? Because if I'm able to set up the streams of income, the streams of solutions out there, I think I would be able to manage my time better, be more effective in my relationship in with people, with any other thing I'm doing, and to myself as well. So it would be a big addition for me to have time to do other things. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I wish you all of the success with all of this. You certainly have the enthusiasm to do it. So I believe you can do it as well. So in closing, what advice do you have for people that's still early in their career or even just thinking about getting into tech? What advice would you give to them?
Right. So I always like to say that anything is possible. It's just depending on how much you really want it. I was doing an analysis, I think it was earlier this morning, and I set an alarm for every day, and I set it to snooze for 5 minutes. And maybe by the time I'm trying to maybe get up, brush my teeth, and, just the minutes it takes me to do that and just walk back to the room, 5 minutes is gone. Or maybe I've had like 2 sets of 5 minutes. And that for me is time is actually going. Time is passing by. So in whatever we're actually doing, time is important. So if you're getting into tech, the best time to get into it is right now. Tech is not what it used to be 10 years ago. It's not what it used to be 5 years ago. We have the likes of ChatGPT that's actually, blowing up the internet right now. And it's really a good thing. But maybe, just maybe in the nearest years, we would not have to really type hard-coded, high-level programming. Maybe we just have to write descriptions, and those descriptions are going to be, carefully written such in a way that they can replicate, procedures, solutions, and stuff like that. Maybe, just maybe. So right now is the time to get into it early. And the truth is, I wrote something on Twitter recently, and that the greatest achievements I've actually had in tech has been the ones that actually did take a leap. And it made me regret the ones I didn't take a leap for, because I felt like it was hard. It wasn't for me. It wasn't something I could do. And this is the normal convention. People think tech is for the smart ones. I like when people do call me nerd, I tell them I'm not a nerd. I'm just smart, and you can do the same. People have this notion of tech is hard, is not for everyone. Tech is absolutely for everyone, and anybody can actually get into it. Mm-hmm. But the biggest deal is that determines the factor that determines the result you have is time. How much time do you have to learn, to put into this, to give yourself the time to assimilate, to fail, and to try? This is a time where you can fail and try. So get into it and take the leap. I tell you, I've taken on some jobs I literally didn't know nothing about how to achieve the work, but I did anyways. I'm not encouraging everybody to do the same, but I'm just telling you that you don't have to have it all. You just have to not, give in to the challenges that are facing wherever country you are in, the situations around your family, your background, and everything. It doesn't have to be a factor. If you want to go for it, go into it. Get involved in a community. Find a community. Don't go it alone. Communities are very helpful. You grow faster and go wider with that. Get in a community. Learn as much as you can. There are a lot of free materials right now. YouTube, like I like to call it, YouTubeversity, YouTube amazes me every single day. Like, you can literally learn and graduate from YouTube. And that's why I call it YouTubeversity, because it can make you from nothing and literally a whole lot informed about something. So use all the tools available. So the problem now is not what you learn or the access to knowledge. You have the access to knowledge now. what to do with it. And another thing is, don't spend your time learning everything. Don't spend your time learning too many things. I think these were some of the mistakes I made. I went from HTML, CSS, Cloud, React. I was learning all sort of frameworks, thinking maybe the more I knew, the better it was for me. It would give me a lot of value. Why this can be true, but it's not really practical in a lot of sense, because while you're doing that, a lot of things are getting by you. So get involved in building things, start creating things. You learn HTML, go crazy about it on the internet. Make the best HTML you can ever do. Make it unreal. Talk about it. Let people know. I'm literally just beginning to, go out in the public, because I'm not a very outspoken person. But now learn in public. Go out there. Let people see, because if you don't go out to talk about what you do, nobody actually is going to know. You might be really good, but all the people that actually know you are just your friends and your inner circle. And if you want the world to really know about what you do, how you're doing it, what you're currently doing, and what your life is all about, you need to get out there on the internet. The likes of Twitter, the likes of LinkedIn, post about, I just created this blog is the best out there in the world. Let the world know about it. You don't have to be an expert in everything to be able to do something. Some people think, you literally have to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the backend like PHP. You don't need to do all of that before you can actually consider yourself a programmer. You can delve into things like UI engineering. You can be an email developer. A lot of people don't know about it. It's funny enough, especially in the continent of Africa. People think you have to be the person that created the engine 256 that NASA is using to actually transport to space and stuff. But you can do the little things that actually matter. And because the truth is, these are problems, and as long as you are solving problems, then you will be relevant. So those are some of the things that I think, from my own personal experiences and opinions, that will help a lot of people fast track. And I mean, we have open source, so it will go a long way as well in helping anybody is thinking of getting into tech in 2023 as well. So yes.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks so much, Precious. This was a great conversation. I mean, we had some troubles with technology, but that is to be expected, and that is why we have editing. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I appreciate everything you've shared. I wish you all of the best for the future, and I hope you will join our community and also share some of your energy and your passion, and build up and help some of the other folks in our community get excited about what they're doing as well.
Thank you so much, Shaka. It's really been a pleasure getting on this. I can say this is my first time getting featured in a podcast style like this. And even for all the, let me just use the opportunity as well. Apologize for the network thing. It's expected, but it can be better. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. It's
been interesting, and I hope to do more of this in the coming future. So yeah, I'm really excited about 2023. Still starting out, so I wake up every day with even more hype than I did in 2022, because I believe I can achieve 10 times better this year, and I can't wait to tell the world about some of the findings and interesting things I'm going to do.
Thank you for listening to the Mechanical Ink podcast. Join the conversation on Discord. All the links are in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it with your friends and colleagues. If you have a moment, please leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts, as this helps others find us and helps us make a better podcast for you, our listeners.